Hello again, it's nice to be back. I've had a short break. My husband, who's also my cameraman, had some shoulder surgery, and so I had to look after him, so we both had a little time out. So today I've got my Christmas fabrics out because Christmas is fast approaching and many of you have got stalls and gifts to make. And today I thought we would make a Christmas stocking for your dog. It's a bone shape and it's very easy to make. And all the templates and everything you'll need are in the pattern in my Etsy shop, so you shouldn't have any problem. So get your Christmas fabrics ready and we'll get started. So for this project you'll need some top fabric, which will be the front and the back of your stocking. I've chosen just the red with the gold spot on. I rather like that. And you'll need two pieces of that, as the pattern will tell you. You'll cut two pieces, one for the front, one for the back. And the same with your lining piece. I've used another piece of Christmas fabric because I have plenty of it, and you will need another strip about two and a half inches wide for the tag, which we'll just fold in. I've already pressed this in. We'll fold that in and stitch along the edge, and that forms the tag that will go on the corner. So put that to one side. You will also need the same pattern cut out in wadding, lightweight wadding. Now, because the bag has a lower edge at the bottom, this is cut out deeper at the top, and that's because you're going to put your hand inside here or put your gifts in, and you need a wider opening. So when you cut the pattern out, you will cut the pattern out with the flat edges, and then there's a template to put on, and you'll cut a deeper edge on the tops of all the pieces. For your applique, you need scrap applique. Now the pattern, again, you can just cut around there. It's all cut on the fold. You can cut your bone out, and with your scrap fabrics cut your holly and the berries out. You can use any kind of fabric that you've got scrap. I had this left over and it's already got the applique paper on, so I just cut round the circles and that forms the berries. Again, you could use any fabric. That's not one I'm using, but you could use any kind of fabric that you happen to have applique spare for your leaves. You will have to iron on the bone onto the top piece of your bag, because you're going to stitch you're going to stitch this on using a small zigzag stitch before you stitch around these. I've ironed these on already, but you will have to put the bone piece on the front of your bag and secure that first. I've stitched on the applique and the bone onto the front of the bag, and this is just a quick tip. I actually did stitch these on first. I put the whole thing on some baking paper because it slides under the machine. I've taken off all the baking paper at the back. Now the reason I use the small zigzag instead of the blanket stitch is because when you come to peel off the baking paper, it comes off so much easier without pulling any stitches. Now this is just a big piece of paper I had of the baking paper. You won't need quite that much. But when you come to pull it off, it doesn't pull any of your stitches. So none of these have come dislodged at all. So I tend to use the zigzag stitch rather than the blanket stitch. The next step is to make the tag that hangs the stocking hangs with, this little tag here. To make that, you need a piece of fabric. I chose the same colour as the bag, and it needs to be 2¼ inches wide and about 8 inches long. And when you've got the piece there, you just fold that in half, give it a press, then open it up and fold the outside edges to the centre. Give it a press and then fold it in half again, another press, and then stitch 1/8 inch along the open edge there. Leave the ends raw, you won't see those, you don't need to stitch over them at all. And then that will make your tag ready to go on the corner of your bag. This is our tag that we just made, and we're going to put that, it needs to sit coming out that way on the finished bag, but in order to stitch it in and include it in the seam allowance, we must put it inside, pin it down, because you don't want to catch it when you're sewing. Just put it a little bit over the edge, just pop a pin in. It's quite thick because it's on the wadding, and then when you stitch your bag together it will just include that, but you won't catch this in. Here's our tag pinned on securely. The next step is to take our lining, right sides together with the front of the bag first, because we're going to stitch the top edge. So I'll put that over there like so, and I have marked equal distance from the center here where we're going to sew. We're going to sew a generous 1/4 inch seam to there. Don't interfere with that tag. We're going to do it on the front and the back. There's our curve stitched on the top of the front of our bag. Now I'll move it like that because obviously it's a curve. So I've done the back in the same way. Now we're going to join the back of the bag to the top. Now here's our tag still in place, but so that you can see that, open that up and open this up. Line up your seams on the front and the back because you're going to stitch all the way around now. So you need your front and your back seams lined up. I'm going to leave a gap in the side or the bottom. It doesn't matter, you can leave it in the bottom of your lining or in the side. I prefer the side, so I will pop a couple of pins in or mark it with a pen where I'm going to start and where I'm going to stop. So I will start at this point on my lining, pin it all the way around, and I will stitch all the way around, across there, down the sides, round the curves for the bottom of the bag, right the way round, all the way around to the beginning, stop there again, and then give it a nice press. And I will have to clip my curves because obviously they won't sit properly. So stitch from that pin across the top, lining up your seams on the front and the back, and then I'll come back and show you the next step. There was my starting point on my lining, and I've stitched all the way around, and I've gone all the way around and finished there and left my gap for turning. A handy hint here is, because these are such acute curves, I do trim off the wadding, lightweight wadding, quite close to the seam line before I clip. Just take the bit off there. I'm going to clip the fabric to make a nice curve, but I do take the excess lightweight wadding off to take a bit of bulk off. So I will clip all the way around, snip in the curves to make them nice and rounded, and then I'm going to turn it to the right side. So this is our stocking finished. The lining is tucked nicely on the inside. I stitched together the gap in the lining that we turned with. You can do it by hand or by machine. Now this one I made in the beginning. This is for our female border collie, Sophie, and so I've decorated a bit more, making it a bit prettier for her. The bone on the front is slightly bigger. You can adjust the sizes according to the pattern. This is a smaller one. Now this would make a nice gift for a little dog, a boy dog perhaps, or if you wanted it for a girl, just stitch some more ric-rac around the top and make it look really pretty. So that makes an ideal gift or for your own pets, and you could make it to put on your Christmas stalls as well. Very easy to make. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe because it really does help us, and go along to the Etsy shop and have a look at this pattern and all the other patterns that are in there. And then next time I hope you'll join me when we're going to make a Christmas stocking for your cat.